All right. Good morning to everyone who's able to join us live. Thank you. Good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. If you are elsewhere watching the recording on Facebook or YouTube, we appreciate it. This is My Empowered Political Life for Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. I'm Ian Foster, your host. The yesterday was the New York City mayoral primary, which I found interesting. I've been working in law and politics for over 30 years now. And so yesterday was the primary. There wasn't really much of a Republican primary to speak of, but the Democratic primary had a bunch of candidates and was very interesting. And so, as you may know, New York City is using ranked choice votings for the primaries this year, but they're using the normal old school winner take all voting for the general election when it comes up. So this creates an interesting dynamic. The two the two strongest candidates in the Democratic primary yesterday were Andrew Cuomo. Yes, that Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York, who left office essentially in disgrace. He was found to have covered up the number of COVID deaths, especially in nursing homes. And he was accused credibly and repeatedly of sexual harassment. So allegedly, he did sexual harassment on his employees. So that Andrew Cuomo was running in the Democratic primary, and then the other. Well, there were two other strong candidates. One was Brad Lander, the New York City comptroller. And in fact, we did a video on him. I want to say last week, maybe the week before. He was manhandled roughly by ICE agents who wouldn't identify themselves and wouldn't explain what they were doing. So Brad Lander, he's a fairly moderate center-left Democrat, is my understanding. And then Zohran Mamdani, who ended up winning the primary last night, or at least, I mean, it looks like he's going to win. Everybody else has conceded. He seems to have a substantial lead. So even after the ranked choice voting is tabulated, we are expecting Zohran Mamdani to come out. Now, Zohran Mamdani is young. He's 33 years old. He does not have a lot of experience in anything. He has never had any sort of executive experience of running anything, as far as I could tell. He has limited legislative experience in the New York State Assembly over the last few years. So that's kind of his experience. Zohran is a member of the Democratic Socialist Party. He's closely aligned with the Democratic Socialists, and he has an interesting history of statements, and he has quite a few interesting policy ideas. So Zohran won the DEM primary. Now, pros and cons of Zohran Mamdani winning. The pro is, if you ever heard this young man speak, he's a very impressive speaker, very charismatic, very impressive, knowledgeable, smart, really knows his stuff. And he has a lot of fresh ideas. So that's kind of the pro. Maybe we need some fresh young voices who are charismatic and everything. Now the cons to Zohran becoming the Democratic nominee: one, his lack of experience really could come back to bite him. I mean, he's about to lead. Well, I shouldn't say, but we still have an interesting general election ahead. He might be the favorite to win, but we'll see. If he wins the general election, he will lead America's largest city, which has a population greater than lots of U.S. states, as a chief executive of an entity that size with no executive experience to speak of. That, a lot of folks who get into these jobs, they tend to think, how hard could it be? And then they get in and they realize how hard it could be. He has policy proposals, some of which I think are interesting and which I kind of like, some of which have been mischaracterized as well. People are talking about he wants to have government take over all the grocery stores. My understanding, he basically wants to open like 5 government-run grocery stores. He's not going to, have the city take over all the private grocery stores. But he has some other proposals that I don't think are workable and could cause a backlash, like a rent freeze. That anytime we've done rent freezes before, it causes a housing shortage and backfires, and you have to get it through the city council and everything too. The free public mass transit is an interesting idea. That has been tried on some limited scales. If you try it on a mass scale, it does become very. I have a kitten here who wants to be very involved in the call today. Hi, this is Simba, our youngest, and he slept all night, so now it's playtime. The free mass transit is an interesting idea. I do wish we would stop calling it free mass transit, because it isn't free. It's just no cost at the point of service, but it isn't free. It still costs money. It has to be paid for somehow. So I'm curious to see if he can come up with a creative way to make sure that's paid for. So we'll see what happens there. Some other cons. I recently listened to an interview with him where he made some comments about Israel and Jews in general that um, I don't think the guy's an anti-Semite. Let me be clear. I don't think he's an anti-Semite. I don't think he hates Jewish people. I will say perhaps his comments were poorly worded or unwisely worded in a way that could lead people to think he's anti-Semitic. And so he's sometimes not careful with how he words things. I think that's part of his youth. If he were 10 years older, he probably would have been much more careful in how he worded these things and much more careful in how he defended his comments. Instead of doubling down, he might have moderated or said, hey, I misspoke. That's not what I meant. But in the interview I saw, he kind of doubled down on some things. And he's going to lead the largest Jewish population in the United States. So that could be an interesting dynamic where that goes. And then his strong association with the Democratic Socialists of America. He has not, as far as I can tell, disavowed any of their platform. This is a group that has literally called for letting everybody out of prison without exception. Rapists, murderers, everybody, bank robbers, letting them out of prison. And, complete, when they say defund the police, a lot of people say defund the police, they just mean reform the police. This group has called for literally defunding the police and not having police. So they want to let rapists, murderers, and bank robbers out of prison and then have no police to do anything about it. They have also called for nationalizing key industries, which is almost certainly unconstitutional and illegal. And they've called for the federal government to confiscate all real estate. So this is a group that wants to take your home and have the government own it. You don't get to own your home anymore. And he has a close association with them. Now, I'm not saying he believes everything they do, but he also hasn't disavowed the stuff they're saying, which could be tricky. And so that means on the national level, this guy is tailor-made for Republican attack ads in the midterms and in 2028, especially if he struggles in New York City early on. If he struggles, if he wins the general election, and if he struggles, he is tailor-made for national attack ads. So that's concerning to me. Now, I'm hoping the guy, once he gets in office, again, he's charismatic, he's smart, he's well-spoken, he's interesting to listen to. I do, just even though I disagree with him on many issues, I enjoy listening to this young man. He's really interesting to listen to. I'm hoping once he gets in office, he will moderate a little bit, learn to work with folks, and be successful. I want him to be successful. I want the city to be successful. I want the country to be successful. So that's my hope. Now, as far as the general election, is he going to win the general election? I think there's a very good chance. I think we're going to have a four-way, right now it looks like, general election in New York City. So we're going to have Zohran as the Democratic nominee. We're going to have a Republican nominee who's so inconsequential that I can't even remember the guy's name, honestly. He's not going to win. And then we're going to have the incumbent, Eric Adams, running as an independent, and Andrew Cuomo probably running as an independent also. So we're going to have a four-way general election for New York City mayor. And this general election will not be ranked choice, which means, 30% of the vote wins it, right? Any one of those four gets 30% of the vote, there's a very good chance they win it. That's a good chance they win it. 40% certainly wins it. So I think Zohran is probably the favorite. I don't think the current mayor, Eric Adams, is going to get reelected. His corruption has been rather astounding, and that's all been outed in federal court lately. So I don't think people are happy with him. The Republican's not going to win. Maybe Andrew Cuomo has a chance as an independent to take the general election, the mayoral race. We will see. But it's tough for New York City. I wish the Democrats would have put up a better establishment candidate than Andrew Cuomo, so we could have had a more interesting race. But Andrew Cuomo is who they put up. Why they would put up a disgraced former governor who left office in the middle of lots of controversy is just beyond me. But of course, I don't work for the New York State Democratic Party. They don't know me. They don't listen to me. So we have an interesting general election ahead in New York City. I'm curious to see what Zohran does. I like the guy, even though I disagree with him. I hope he does well. I hope he maybe moderates a little bit and doesn't give Republicans fodder for their attack ads in the midterms. So, but he should be getting some good consulting from here on out now that he's the primary nominee in the mayoral race. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate you all. Thanks, everyone who likes and subscribes. The liking and subscribing is free, easy, costs you nothing, and it really does actually help. Believe it or not, the algorithm cares. So thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. I will see you all soon.